The network of the mobile you use to talk or browse the internet connects to the nearest tower, but you might not know where that tower's network connects. Friends, the internet that allows us to explore the world on our phones in an instant travels paths to reach you that you can't even imagine. Just so you know, the data for the video you're watching isn't coming from the sky or through the air. Instead, it's reaching you through a wire, and that wire runs under the ocean. More than 95% of the world's internet runs through these undersea cables, and the remaining roughly 5% comes via satellite. However, we wouldn't have much of a problem if satellite internet didn't exist. Now, you're probably wondering, how does the internet work? How are these cables laid in the ocean? Who lays them? How far have they gone? Do they break? If they do, how are they repaired? What is the difference between satellite and cable internet? Let's start from the very beginning. History of the internet. In the past, ships were used to send messages from one country to another, which would take several weeks to arrive. In 1858, a telegraph cable was laid under the sea between America and Europe. An electric pulse would be sent from one end, and it would be read in Morse code at the other end. This made it possible to send messages in minutes. However, it could only be used to send messages, not to make voice calls, and if the cable broke, it would take months to repair. In 1956, the first transatlantic telephone cable was laid, running from Newfoundland, Canada to Scotland. It could carry 36 phone calls at once. In 1988, the optical fibre cable, TAT8, was launched, connecting America, Britain, and France. It transmitted data using laser light and could handle about 40,000 calls simultaneously. Later, through the use of advanced technologies like DWDM, it became possible to transmit thousands of gigabytes of data over the same fibre. How cables are laid in the ocean. There are special ships for laying these cables, called cable laying ships. These ships carry thousands of kilometres of cable coiled on board. They slowly advance along a predetermined route, laying the cable on the seabed behind them. In the deep ocean, the cable is laid directly on the seabed. Near the coast, the cable is buried underground to prevent damage from anchors or ships. Cable structure inside a submarine cable are very thin glass fibres through which data travels via laser light. Surrounding them are reflective layer retains light steel and copper layers, protection from pressure, thick plastic coating, protection from salt water. Although it looks like a thick pipe on the outside, it contains extremely delicate fibres inside. What happens if a cable breaks? If a cable breaks, an entire continent could be disconnected from the internet. Reasons for the break: fishing nets, ship anchors, earthquakes. In the past, sometimes sharks or whales. Special ships are used for repairs. They use GPS to locate the damaged area, then use robotic equipment to raise the cable and splice it. The cable is damaged more than 100 times a year, but thanks to advanced systems, we often don't even notice. How the internet actually works. When you want to watch YouTube, your ISP, such as Comcast, AT&T, Verizon, Spectrum, Cox Communications, Frontier Communications, CenturyLink, provides you with an internet connection. Your data goes mobile to tower, to other tower, to core network, to internet, backbone, to data center, or overseas. If the data is overseas, it comes via submarine cables. Satellite versus cable internet. With satellite internet, like Starlink, your antenna connects to the satellite. From the satellite, it goes to a ground station. Then the data comes through fibre optic cable. In other words, satellite internet is also ultimately dependent on cables. What is a server? A server is a special computer where all of a website's data, videos, images, files is stored. When you play a video on YouTube, it isn't on your phone. It comes from the server to your phone.